My name is Jason Carter. I've never been the type to believe in ghost stories or haunted houses. I was always a skeptic, the one who rolled his eyes at tales of spirits and shadows, dismissing them as overactive imaginations or the result of too much alcohol. That is, until the night I stepped into the house. The locals call it the Whispering House. Some say it's abandoned, others claim it's cursed. But the truth is far worse than any legend could convey. I should have never gone inside. But like any fool, I couldn't resist the temptation to uncover the truth for myself. That night changed everything. I should have known better than to accept the dare. It was late in the night, and I stood before the old mansion, its silhouette looming against the inky sky like a shadow from another time. The house had been abandoned for decades, or so they said. They called it the Whispering House, and anyone who dared to go inside never came back the same. But that only fueled my curiosity, and curiosity had always been my biggest flaw. The air was thick with tension as I pushed open the creaking iron gate. It groaned like a beast disturbed from its slumber, sending a shiver up my spine. The path leading up to the front door was overgrown with tangled ivy, and the smell of decay hung heavy in the air. But it wasn't the decay that bothered me. It was the silence. No chirping of crickets, no rustling of leaves in the wind. Just an oppressive stillness, like the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. I walked slowly up the path, my footsteps muffled by the damp earth. The porch light flickered once, casting long shadows that danced on the peeling walls of the house. My heart hammered in my chest. I could feel the weight of the house's history pressing down on me, and yet I couldn't turn back now. I had come too far. As I reached for the doorbell, a strange sensation crawled over me. It was like I wasn't alone, like something was watching me from inside. My hand froze, hovering just an inch from the brass button. A cold draft swept through me, and then the door creaked open, as though inviting me in. I stepped inside, and the air was colder than I expected, so cold that it bit into my skin, like stepping into a freezer. The house groaned as though it was waking up, its wooden floors moaning underfoot. I reached for my phone, the screen illuminating the darkness around me. The hallway stretched before me, narrow and long, the walls covered in faded wallpaper. The smell of mildew and something older lingered in the air. A faint flicker of light caught my eye, and I turned to see a small lamp in the corner, its flickering flame casting erratic shadows on the walls. I moved further in, past the hallway, into the living room. The furniture was covered in dusty sheets, the old velvet chairs bulging out of their covers like the remnants of forgotten memories. My breath fogged in front of me as I walked toward a large mirror hanging on the far wall. The reflection of the room seemed wrong. The shadows were deeper, as though the room was larger than it appeared. I turned around quickly, my heart racing, but there was nothing behind me, nothing except the oppressive silence. Then a faint whisper broke through the stillness. I froze, my blood running cold. It was so soft, I thought I imagined it at first. But then I heard it again, clearer this time. A whisper, almost like someone was speaking directly into my ear. "Help me?" My body tensed, and I fought the urge to bolt. The voice was faint, but it was real. It was coming from upstairs. I didn't know what possessed me, but I followed it. I could feel the temperature dropping as I ascended the staircase. Each step creaked under my weight, the sound echoing in the otherwise silent house. The whisper grew louder, closer. "Help me?" At the top of the stairs, the corridor split in two directions. I hesitated, my nerves on edge. The whisper seemed to come from the left, so I turned that way, my footsteps soft on the old floorboards. The door at the end of the hallway was ajar, and beyond it was a room bathed in moonlight. The whisper stopped, replaced by an eerie stillness. I entered the room cautiously. The walls were lined with shelves full of old books and trinkets, and a large, four-poster bed sat in the center. But it wasn't the room that made my stomach churn. It was a figure standing at the foot of the bed. At first, I thought it was a mannequin, a figure dressed in tattered white robes. But as I stepped closer, my breath caught in my throat. The figure moved. It turned slowly, its face hidden behind a veil of shadow. I could feel my pulse racing, the air thick with dread. It took a step forward, and then another, until it was standing in front of me. The whisper came again, now a low, guttural sound. "Help me?" I backed away, my feet stumbling over the floor as I hit the edge of the bed. My heart thudded in my chest, the room spinning around me. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The figure didn't answer. Instead, it raised its hand and the room went dark. The sudden darkness was suffocating, thick as tar. I couldn't see my own hand in front of my face. The air felt alive, as though the house itself was closing in on me. The floor creaked, and I could feel something moving in the darkness, something circling me. And then I heard it, the unmistakable sound of breathing. Hot, ragged breaths like something was standing just behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing there. Nothing except the oppressive air that seemed to be closing in around me. I had to get out. I rushed for the door, my hands fumbling with the knob, but it wouldn't budge. The whispers grew louder, the voices of countless souls all speaking at once. "Help me, help me." Then a voice broke through the others, clearer than the rest. "You shouldn't have come here." The voice was deep, gravelly, like it had been trapped in the house for years. My heart dropped into my stomach. I spun around once again, and there, standing in the doorway, was a figure, a tall, gaunt man with hollow eyes and a twisted grin. "You're in our house now," he said, his voice cold as ice. "And once you're here, you don't leave." I backed away, my pulse racing, my body frozen in terror. The door behind me slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping me inside. The whispers escalated, becoming a maddening cacophony of voices, and the man, it even was a man, stepped closer. His hands were outstretched, as though beckoning me forward. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. The walls seemed to press in on me, suffocating me. The last thing I remember before everything went black was the sound of his voice. "We've been waiting for you." My body was frozen in place, heart racing as the gaunt figure stepped toward me, his outstretched hands closing the distance. The walls of the room seemed to pulse, as if the house itself was alive and feeding off the terror that radiated from me. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The whispers drowned out everything. But then, something happened. A sudden, sharp crack rang through the air. The light from the nearby window flickered, illuminating the twisted figure in a harsh, white glow. For just a moment, I saw him clearly. A man once alive, now trapped in a nightmare of his own making. His hollow eyes seemed to pierce through me, but I noticed something strange about him. His lips weren't moving. The whispers, which had been suffocating me, stopped in an instant. The entire house fell into a thick silence. I blinked, confusion clouding my thoughts. Then, it came to me in a rush, a realization that struck me like a lightning bolt. The figure wasn't speaking at all. The voice, the one that had been speaking to me since I entered the house, had been coming from somewhere else, from the house itself, from the walls, the floor, the very air around me. It was the house calling out, its tortured soul reaching out to claim me. That realization shattered the paralysis that had taken hold of me. I gasped, stumbling backward, eyes wide with terror. The figure stood motionless, its outstretched arms now lowered. A strange noise came from the house, a low, guttural rumble. The walls groaned, like a wounded animal, as if it were aware that it was losing its grip on me. The house was angry. It was fighting back. I turned toward the door, adrenaline surging through my veins, and I knew that this was my chance. Without thinking, I slammed my shoulder into the door with everything I had. It didn't budge. I threw myself at it again, panic rising in my chest. The whispers returned, louder this time, 1,000 voices screeching in agony. My heart pounded in my ears. The door had to open. It had to. And then, with a violent jolt, it gave way. The door flew open, and I tumbled into the hallway, gasping for breath. The floorboards beneath me seemed to shake as the house shuddered, but I didn't stop to look back. I couldn't. I ran. I could hear the sound of footsteps behind me. Not mine. Something was following me. The house was coming after me, determined to pull me back into its cold, oppressive darkness. But I wasn't going to let it. I burst down the staircase, my feet slipping on the damn floor. But I didn't care. I didn't look behind me. I couldn't. All I knew was that I had to get out, to escape the grip of the house that had held me captive for far too long. I reached the front door. The house seemed to fight back, the air growing thick, like it was trying to keep me in. The door handle felt like it was molten under my fingers, as though it, too, wanted to trap me. But I twisted it with all my strength, and the door opened. The gust of wind that hit me was cold and sharp, like a warning. I stumbled out onto the front porch, gasping for air, the weight of the house lifting off my chest. The mansion loomed behind me, dark and still, as though nothing had happened. But I knew better. I didn't look back. I didn't dare. I kept running, down the overgrown path, into the night, until I couldn't hear the whispers anymore, until I couldn't feel the cold hands of the house reaching for me. When I finally reached my car, I didn't even hesitate. I got in, slammed the door shut, and drove off, my hands shaking on the wheel. As I sped away, I glanced into the rearview mirror. For just a brief moment, I thought I saw something, a flash of movement at the window, a shadow watching me from within the house. But when I blinked, it was gone. I didn't stop driving until I reached the edge of town. My heart still raced, my body trembling, but I was alive. The house, the voices, the horrors I'd faced, it was all behind me. At least, that's what I thought. Months passed, and I tried to move on with my life. I told myself that what happened that night was just a bad experience, a figment of my overactive imagination, that the house was just a building, nothing more, nothing less. But no matter how hard I tried, the nightmares never stopped. Every night, the same thing. I would find myself back in that house, walking the same dark hallways, hearing the whispers growing louder, feeling the cold air creeping around me. Sometimes, I could even see the gaunt man's twisted grin in the shadows, watching me from the corner of the room, his hollow eyes burning into my soul. I would wake up gasping for breath, drenched in sweat, heart racing. The fear would linger, thick in the air, as if the house had followed me into my dreams. I couldn't shake it. I couldn't escape it. I tried to tell people. I told my friends, the ones I trusted, but they all looked at me like I was crazy. They listened politely, but their eyes said it all. They didn't believe me. It was just a spooky old house, they would say. You were probably just freaking yourself out. But I knew it wasn't just in my head. I couldn't explain what had happened to me, what I had seen, but it was real. The terror, the whispers, the feeling of being watched. It was too real to be a nightmare. One evening, over drinks at a bar, I tried again. I told them about the nightmares, about the feeling of being chased, about the house's unrelenting grip on me. I could feel their eyes rolling as I spoke, but I couldn't stop myself. I swear to you guys, I said, my voice shaking, the house, it's not just a place. It followed me. I can feel it every day. I hear things. I see shadows. You have to believe me. One of my friends, Chris, leaned back in his chair, laughing. Come on, man. You've been watching too many horror movies. If you really saw something in that house, you wouldn't even be here right now. You'd be, I don't know, dead or possessed or something. I felt my heart sink at his words. They didn't get it. They didn't understand the weight of what I had been through. We're planning to go back there this weekend, said another friend, Jake, with a grin. We're all going, to check it out for ourselves. If it's so haunted, we'll see for ourselves. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Don't. You can't go back there. I'm telling you, it's not just a haunted house. It's something worse. You have no idea what you're getting into. But they just laughed. They brushed me off like I was overthinking things. You're just paranoid, man. It was just an old house. Nothing more. Relax. I felt a wave of frustration and helplessness wash over me. No matter how much I tried to warn them, they wouldn't listen. They were going to do it anyway, and I couldn't stop them. That night, after conversation, the nightmares came back worse than ever. I was back in the house, walking those cursed hallways, but this time, it was different. This time, the house felt alive, its walls closing in on me, the floorboards creaking under invisible feet. I could hear the whispers again, soft and maddening, circling around me like vultures. And then, from the shadows, the gaunt man appeared. But this time, he wasn't alone. There were others, figures, shrouded in darkness, their faces hidden, but their eyes, those empty, hollow eyes, stared at me from all directions. "Help us," they whispered in unison. "You shouldn't have left." I woke up gasping for air, my sheets soaked with sweat, my body trembling with fear. I couldn't get back to sleep. The fear gripped me tight, and I knew it was only a matter of time before they went to the house. I knew that whatever happened to me, they would face it too. I didn't know if they would believe me after that. I didn't know if they'd survive. But one thing was clear, I couldn't protect them. I had to let them make their own choices, just like I had. But I couldn't help feeling that the house wasn't done with any of us. It was waiting, watching, and soon it would claim more than just me. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below if you'd like to share your thoughts or if there's a story you'd love to see next. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.